Number 8. Jade Fox. On October the 31st of 2014, British backpacker Jade Fox was on a holiday to Fraser Island in Queensland, Australia. She took part in a 3-day tag-along tour of the island. But a friend who'd been traveling with her later reported that Fox was the only one who didn't feel safe driving during the trip. The Land Cruiser in which she was a passenger was driven by an unnamed 19-year-old German tourist. While traveling at around 28 miles per hour, the man was reported to have momentarily looked down to change gears. The 4x4 carrying Fox and 6 other backpackers then hit a sand patch and overturned as the driver tried to correct the steering. 22-year-old Fox was fatally injured in the accident, and it was later determined that she'd succumbed to positional asphyxia. Following an inquest into her death, Remy Sexton, the friend with whom she'd been traveling, offered more information on the circumstances in which it had occurred. She'd told a media outlet that they'd been told to keep a distance of 100 yards between the cars in the convoy, but that the lead vehicle was roughly 2 miles in front, and telling the others to hurry up. Fox was the only fatality, but other members of the group were injured in the crash, and they subsequently sued the company organizing the tours. Number 7. Ethan Williams. 20-year-old Indiana man Ethan Williams had reportedly dreamed of visiting New York City ever since he was a child. The Indianapolis University College sophomore and a group of friends excitedly made the long-awaited trip in October of 2020. On the 24th of the month, Williams was sitting on the stoop outside his Airbnb in the Bushwick area of Brooklyn. Shooting broke out nearby, and Williams tried to run back inside the building, but was struck in the chest by at least one stray bullet. He was pronounced dead at Wyckoff Heights Medical Center, and as of June 2021, the murder remained unsolved. The young man's family reported that during his high school years, Williams spent time in Rwanda doing missionary work. His distraught father stated that the young man would have already forgiven his shooter and would have wanted them to be his friend. Number 6. Niamh Corrigan. South London woman Niamh Corrigan and her Scottish fiancé Peter Fortuna were visiting Thailand for a friend's wedding in December of 2015. According to friends and family, they planned to spend some time exploring the country, described as a dream destination for them after the wedding and before returning to the UK. On the day of their arrival, the couple went out for a meal and then decided to take a tuk-tuk upon heading back to their Phuket hotel at around 2:30 a.m. At some point during the drive, they reached bumpy mountain roads which had steep inclines and twisting turns. 29-year-old Corrigan started experiencing motion sickness and got up in an attempt to move closer to her partner. Simultaneously, the tuk-tuk climbed a steep hill and then made a sharp turn, while reportedly traveling at under 25 miles per hour. The sudden movement caused Corrigan to be rapidly flung to the back of the vehicle. Fortuna tried grabbing his partner but was unable to reach her in time, and Corrigan fell out of the tuk-tuk. Fortuna shouted at the driver to stop and then went to check on her but found the woman unresponsive and bleeding from her head. Fortuna relentlessly attempted to resuscitate Corrigan before paramedics arrived at the scene, but she was ultimately pronounced dead. Number 5. David and Michelle Paul. In May of 2019, a Texas married couple died days apart after falling violently ill during a dream trip to Fiji, shortly after David and Michelle Paul had arrived on Denarau Island on May the 22nd. The latter texted her parents to say that she and her husband had been throwing up for 8 hours straight. The 35-year-old former student athlete added that they were going to see a doctor and that they'd text back whenever possible. The couple, both described as very healthy and physically fit, was reportedly given anti-nausea medication and fluids, but their health continued to rapidly deteriorate. Michelle died first on May the 27th, and David passed away 2 days later amidst plans to transport him to Australia for further treatment. Preliminary investigative reports suggested that they'd succumbed to a mysterious illness after a few locals with whom they'd come into contact allegedly exhibited similar symptoms. However, Fiji officials announced in late June that after extensive analysis and examination, they'd identified no infectious causative agent, and illness was largely ruled out. The finding invited speculation that the couple had been poisoned, but the cause or circumstances remained unclear. Number 4. 2017 Westminster attack. Utah couple Melissa and Kurt Cochran were visiting England in March of 2017 to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary. They'd only planned to spend one day in London and wanted to do as much sightseeing as possible. A little over 2 hours into their visit of the capital city, on March the 22nd, the couple were on the south side of Westminster Bridge when Melissa heard a car revving in the distance. 52-year-old British man Khalid Masood then intentionally drove his Hyundai Tucson at up to 76 miles per hour into pedestrians on the bridge, ultimately injuring over 50 of them. 54-year-old Kurt had managed to push Melissa out of the way before he was run over and killed by the vehicle. In the aftermath, the chief coroner on the inquest associated with the incident praised Kurt's instinctive bravery in protecting his wife. 3 other people were fatally injured during Masood's rampage, including Romanian tourist Andreea Cristea, who had been thrown over the bridge parapet and into the River Thames by the impact. The 31-year-old was pulled from the river by the crew of a river cruise after having been knocked unconscious and sustaining severe injuries in the fall. Cristea was removed from life support on April the 6th. Her Romanian boyfriend, who'd reportedly planned to propose to her on the trip, was also hurt in the attack, but he survived. After the bridge spree, Masood crashed the rented car into the fence perimeter surrounding the Palace of Westminster grounds. Unarmed police officer Keith Palmer stopped the knife-wielding Masood from entering the palace, but later passed away from critical stab wounds. The heroic intervention delayed Masood long enough for an armed officer to arrive at the scene and shoot him dead. The entire incident, confirmed as a terror attack, lasted only 82 seconds. Number 3. Khurram Shaikh. In the winter of 2011, Red Cross worker Khurram Shaikh and his Russian girlfriend, 23-year-old Victoria Alexandrovna, were on holiday in Sri Lanka. In the previous months, Shaikh, originally from England's Greater Manchester area, had been fitting prosthetic limbs in Gaza. He and Alexandrovna were looking forward to spending Christmas and New Year's Eve on the island nation. The Tangol resort where they'd been staying was owned by local politician Sampath Vidanapathirana, who reportedly had ties to then-President Mahinda Rajapaksa. On Christmas Day, while on the resort's dance floor, Shaikh intervened to help a hotel worker as he was being attacked by a group of several men who were led by Vidanapathirana. The attackers then turned their attention on Shaikh, fatally shooting and stabbing him before assaulting Alexandrovna. She survived the prolonged abuse and was found on the beach with her clothes torn apart, a bleeding head injury and bruises on her body. The trial for those involved was delayed for roughly 2 years, an aspect attributed to council leader Vidanapathirana's political connections. However, following intense pressure from the victims' families and the UK government, Vidanapathirana was jailed for 20 years, along with accomplices Lahiru Kellam, Yu Sama Deshapriya, and Praneeth Chathurun. In July of 2014, they'd been found guilty of culpable homicide, not amounting to murder, and the assault of Alexandrovna. The incident was one of several which Rajapaksa's political opposition claimed highlighted the corruption which had overtaken the country. The mounting negative reactions eventually led to Rajapaksa's defeat in the 2015 presidential election. Number 2. Marie Kunle. New York public defender Marie Kunle, aged 61, was vacationing with a group of friends at the Club Med Turquoise Resort in Turks and Caicos in October of 2018. After a day of drinking at the pool, Kunle disappeared and was consequently reported missing to local authorities by her companions. Her lifeless body was found on October the 16th in some bushes near her accommodations, and it was determined that she'd been strangled to death. The Royal Turks and Caicos Islands police force failed to solve the case, prompting her family to hire a private investigator. The findings that followed suggested that Kunle's murder had been a vicious and deliberate act, potentially covered up by the resort and permeated by a lack of interest, if not complicity, exhibited by local police. Even though Kunle's body had been kept by the Turks and Caicos authorities long enough for severe decomposition to occur, it was still evident that she'd been assaulted prior to being strangled. There was bruising on her ribs, cuts on her knees, in addition to her underwear being inside out. In 2020, Kunla's family filed a $10 million wrongful death lawsuit against Club Med. It accused Frank Yankulo, a guest and former employee at the resort, of killing Kunla and the resort of covering it up. A fellow Long Islander, Yankulo had attached himself to her group, and one of the women, identified as Helma Hermans, claimed to have been inappropriately touched by him while in the pool. Yankulo maintained his innocence and wasn't charged in connection to the killing. Updates from December of 2021 indicated that Kunla's family was still trying to obtain evidence from the local coroner, which they claimed was being inexplicably kept from them. Number 1. Jesse Kozechin and Shura Stay. Started in 2017, Brazilian influencer Jesse Kozechin embarked on a dream trip in his 1978 Volkswagen Beetle, accompanied by his golden retriever Shura Stay. Kozechin's goal had been to drive from Brazil through the Americas and ultimately reach Alaska. He documented the expedition on his social media through pictures of the destinations they visited. Many of the images also show the Beetle with its Shura Stay or Shura Go logo, a wordplay inspired by the name of his canine companion and the Clash's hit song Should I Stay or Should I Go. The pair had traveled 52,000 miles through over a dozen countries before their trip was cut short by the COVID-19 pandemic. When the US closed its southern border and they were forced to return to Brazil, they resumed traveling at the beginning of 2022. After crossing into the US in February, Kozechin posted a photo to his Instagram where he had close to 360,000 followers. In it, he and Shura Stay were watching a sunset, and in the caption, Kozechin wrote, "As far as it depends on me, we will always be together until the sun sets one last time." After traveling through California and across Florida, the pair drove up the East Coast. In April, Kozechin posted a photo with him and Shura Stay sitting atop the Beetle as it was parked in New York City's Times Square on May the 23rd. They were outside Salem, Oregon, only a few days from completing the dream trip. As reported by Oregon State Police, Kozechin then tried to pass a line of vehicles that had slowed down for another that was turning. In doing so, he swerved into oncoming traffic and collided head-on with a Ford Escape driven by 62-year-old Eileen Huss. She was taken to a hospital with unspecified injuries, but Kozechin and Shura Stay died at the scene as the Beetle had taken the brunt of the impact. News of the tragedy began to circulate and numerous Instagram users expressed their condolences, one of them writing, "You lived life beautifully," in the memory of Kozechin and his beloved companion. Thanks for watching. Would you rather spend a week in a 5-star resort in Mexico or with an uncontacted tribe in the Amazon jungle? Let us know in the comments section below.